So hi and welcome to this video on how to use the novabow foot exercise and stretching device. So a couple of things to say first. The first thing would be that if you have foot problems, go and see a suitably qualified physician first of all and find out what the problem is with your foot, get a diagnosis. The second thing is that you, before you start any new exercise regime, always get the go-ahead from your physician, ask for advice. Because, for example, you might have had surgery to your foot, and that might mean that the novabow is something that, it's not a good idea for you to use it. So you would always go and check with a physician before you start a new exercise regime. The third important thing to remember is that the novabow is a device that's used whilst you're seated. It's not a device to use while standing. And the reason for that is that if your foot is in the device and you lose your balance and then you put your foot down into the device, then if your foot's already under strain, so you can actually hurt yourself doing that. So you always use it whilst you're comfortably seated. So we come to actually using the device then. So the actual way that you use it is that you move your toes around the joints, the kind of knuckle joints, if you like, of your feet, and you don't claw your toes. So an easy way of learning the exercise is this. I'll just read just now. So what you're looking to do is move your toes, press your toes down in what's known as a doming exercise. And this basically is how you would practice it. I don't think anyone else actually advocates this on the internet. I don't know why, because it actually works very well. So this basically is what you'd be doing. You'd be lifting your foot, the ball of your foot, just 1 centimetre off the ground, and then 1 centimetre, and then whilst the ball of your foot is off the ground, bring your toes down onto the ground. Okay, and then relax. Then the same thing again, just lift your foot, toes to the ground. Lift, toes to the ground. And do that about 10 times. And then once you've done that 10 times, try and lift your foot and bring your toes to the ground at the same time. And what you get is that kind of doming exercise there. And that's perfect. That's the sort of the muscle recruitment pattern that you're going to be using when you're using the novabow. So the novabow is about much more than just the toe flexors, about much more than just the intrinsic muscles of the foot. It's about other muscles that help support your arch, like the tibialis anterior, and we'll see that when we sort of use the device in a minute or two. In terms of how you'd use the device, you'd warm up first, and then you might do 10 repetitions once you were warmed up, 10 repetitions of pressing your toes down into the device and hold, and then slowly release. And that pattern of exercise of pressing down, holding, and then slowly releasing. So you're talking about concentric exercise, isometric exercise, and then eccentric release. And that pattern of exercise has actually been found to work for sprinters and people who want to develop more power with their feet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to put the camera or the phone round behind me and give you an idea of how the exercises are being done. Also, this isn't a professional video. The video is being shot so that I'm about to send out novabows to people from the Indiegogo campaign who've helped me, and thanks very much to you guys. The video is really for them so that they've got an idea of how to use it when the novabows arrive in the next couple of days. Anyone else who wants to buy a novabow, they'll be on sale on the internet within the next couple of weeks or so. So there's going to be a brief sort of click in the video just as I bring the camera around behind me, and you can actually see what's going on. So I'm now in a seated position, and I'm just going to go over how you would use the novabow for strengthening purposes. And I'm just going to use my left foot. So because it's my left foot, I'm going to angle the toe plate in a little bit so that my big toe and my little toes are all targeted. Now you can target particular areas of your foot both by adjusting the angle that the toe plate is coming into your foot at, or by adding there are units of padding, which are actually provided along with the device. And these can be inserted underneath the toe plate covering, so that the toe plate covering comes out towards either the lesser toes or the big toe, and you can actually target the foot, particular areas of the foot in that way, as well as by angling the toe plate itself. So this is set up now for my left foot. So my left foot goes on, and then I would, first of all, I would warm up my foot generally, just with some general exercises, and then I'd put my foot into position, and then bring the elastic up and over the top of the foot. So the way that you would generally, if you wanted to improve explosiveness of the foot, the way that you would strengthen it is by a fairly rapid concentric contraction, followed by an isometric hold, followed by a slow eccentric release. So up, hold, and then slow release. But it's really up to yourself how you use it, what sort of exercise regime. You can actually, just with a moderate resistance, sort of move your foot quite rapidly from dorsiflex to plantar flex and back again. And you can do that until you feel the fatigue actually building underneath your foot. You can actually feel those intrinsic foot muscles beginning to tire, so that you know you're actually targeting those. But what you wouldn't do, I mean, like you're going to be exercising muscles that you don't generally use. So what you don't want to do is actually cause yourself cramp, discomfort, or pain. So any cramping or discomfort, you would sort of tone down the amount of usage that you were having with the device, or you would reduce the amount of resistance that you were lifting against. And what I like to do is actually I use two different resistance bands, one to warm up, and then I'll put a second one over the top of it, and I'll use that for my exercises. So generally, I exercise my feet, strengthen my feet for 10 minutes, 3 times a week, just watching television. That's what I tend to do. So we'll move on then to actually sort of stretching the foot. There's actually a band provided for that, a strap. So it's simply a question of feeding the strap through the toe plate, back through the buckle, clicking that in place to hold things together, and then you have it all set for stretching the foot. So what you're going to do then is you're going to pull on the strap, and that will dorsiflex the toes